While you're there, you figure that you only have two choices here. You're either going to die or you're going to somehow miraculously be released. I only realized the level of desperation that I was in after I came back. My name is Dilip Joseph. I'm a medical director at an economic and community development initiative that works in Afghanistan. Since Loma and going through Masters in Public Health, I've always had an interest to see how community health impacts people's lives. And so I was looking for an opportunity like this that just fell into my lap. Since 2009 all the way till late 2012, I made like 12 different trips in those 4 years. And they were great. I was enjoying it immensely. And so this last trip was very different. We were coming down from one of the more rural areas, making our way down the windy road down to the Kabul-Jalalabad main highway. And we saw this one gunman pop up from a bush on the side of the road. And as soon as he stopped us, there were two guys coming down from the mountain right in front of us, and one guy surrounded us from the back. So we were essentially surrounded by these guys. But yeah, as soon as that happened, I realized it was just a matter of minutes before they shoot and kill us. But then we were taken to a very remote area down the valley, away from the mountains. And then we essentially ended up spending the rest of the day just hiking up and down mountains. I think very early on, it settled on me that, wow, this is how my life was going to end. But the fact that I knew my life was going to end, I didn't want to die feeling pissed off, if you will. So in some ways, I had to work that out. And I think those were the first few hours of really wrestling with God about it. Why me? Why this way? Haven't I done enough to deserve something better? And sort of going from all the me questions to realizing, wow, I'm talking to the creator of the universe who could actually be sovereign over every little detail. And he could pick, regardless of my scenario, he could pick the scenario to make it, to glorify his name. And so kind of resting on that, I ended up having an incredible conversation with a young man. I had no idea how old he was, but as he was listening to my life story, why I do what I do, to coming out to help people who would otherwise end up dying from very easily preventable situations, health situations. He then began, an hour and a half into hearing my story, he then began shifting to his own story and telling me things like, I think you do what you do because this is what you've been exposed to. You like helping people. I do what I do because this is all I've seen all around me. By the time I was 5, I had already killed my first victim. And for the past 14 years, I haven't seen my dad. He's been in prison. And I was 5 the last time I saw him. I stopped him right there and I said, I'm old enough to be your father. And when I said, I'm old enough to be your father, that was probably only few microseconds that he sort of stopped asking questions. He was just sort of letting that digest a little bit. And also realizing that there's so much to life beyond what he's experienced. And I realized for the first moment that I don't have the type of heart that God has for people that we might easily consider as evil. And that was a very telling moment for me. On the final day, which was the fourth day, maybe a couple of hours into that, and I hear some animals making noises, dog barking, sheep baaing, and I can hear some rustling going around. And the 19-year-old walks out. And still to this day, I haven't pieced together how all of that got orchestrated. What he would have seen is literally a sea of military men all kind of surrounding the area. And he would have seen that. He came back in. If he'd seen what he had seen, I'm not sure why he wouldn't have gone ahead and just killed me right away. Because it would have been a desperate situation. But for whatever reason, he had a very short conversation, and then that conversation subsides, and the next thing I hear is a gunshot that eventually takes the life of the first Navy SEAL that walks into the room. And then literally all hell breaks loose. I hear multiple conversations, all shouting. Then I realize, wait a second, all these guys are talking in English. I'm the only guy in the room who can speak English. Then I hear, within a matter of a few more seconds, I hear, is Dilip Joseph here? And I raise my voice and say, I'm right here. And again, within a matter of a few seconds, I have this one guy laying on top of me. Then I hear these muffled gunshots going all around me. I think as soon as I was sandwiched between these two SEALs and walked out of the compound, just to wait in the front yard, that's when I realized, wow, I'm rescued, I'm safe, and all I want to do at this point is just be back with my family. Not only were the 5 guys who were with me were all killed, but later I found out that all the people that came in to see what happened, they were killed in a morning raid. You know, when you work in a scenario like this, situation like this, you never want to be the cause of people dying, you know, especially when you're a medic. You're there to like save lives. That's a very hard dichotomy to sort of process in your mind. As thankful as I am for my rescue, the last thing I expected was for the Taliban to be this open. Now I realize that the desperation that they have is the same desperation that I feel when I think about hope or peace or joy or, you know, love in my own life. What truly makes man whole? And what's my role in that? If I have hope, how do I then instill that hope to others? It actually doesn't take a lot of effort to instill hope, even in a very dark place. It's the little things that actually make the big difference, and not the things you consider of maybe doing surgery and giving a person, you know, a few more years in life. All those things do matter, but if that person who just had a surgery doesn't have a surgery of the heart, we haven't really impacted their lives in a deeper level that we could easily do if we just spend some time with people and get to understand them.